Hey guys, Luke here from Portugal Gaming, and I am back. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I know you missed me, so I am back doing some more ALR racing here at the wonderful track of Portimao in Portugal. Apologies for missing last week's Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. As I said in the introduction, I just couldn't bring myself to upload it. I drove so poorly, I ended up causing a crash on the final corner of the last lap. So that's just going to stay forever in the deep dark abyss of the web. But we are back with Portugal, still leading the championship, not by as many points as I would have liked, of course, but we are still leading with a fairly healthy 20 odd so point buffer. Coming into qualifying last lap of the session, we are P5 and a very poor turn one for me there. Really could have taken it a bit better, went a bit wide and lost the rear of the car. Not a great exit through this corner either, so we're about a 10th up so far. My PB is a 16.5 or 16.6, so I'm a long way off at this point. I think I did a low 17 on my first run, so a lot of time to gain. And we're just not finding it at the moment. Sector 1 hasn't been fantastic. Sector 2, I knew was fairly poor on my first lap, so I knew there's a little bit of time here, and Sector 3 was actually okay, so I need to make sure that in Sector 2 I ace it, but I'm just not. I've gained another half a tenth, but we're still hovering at that 1/10 margin. If this had been a perfect lap, I should have been at least 2/10 up. There's that corner in Sector 2 that really got me that time, and apparently, according to the game, it was enough for a purple Sector 2. Obviously, this game does love to give purple Sector 2s to pretty much anyone, so we won't take that at face value. Coming around now into the penultimate corner, going to swoop down the hill. It's been a good enough lap. We're up to 2/10. As I said, if it had been a perfect lap, if I would managed to emulate my PB, we should be a lot higher up on the delta. One up to the line. It's about a 2/10 improvement, more or less. 16.8, and we are P4 as things stand. As I said, my PB in practice was a 16.6, so I'm still 2/10 off my PB. Not a fantastic lap, but not much I can do about it. We've got Dan and Jinnah, who are still yet to finish their laps. They're already going to be on the front row because no one else is improving enough to beat them. It's now a straight fight for the pole. Dan will be the first to cross the line. In the Alpine, Dan, who has had some pretty good pace recently, comes up to the line and he does improve to a 16.6. Jinnah, right behind him, though, improves as well to a 16.5. So I could have been on the front row, but unfortunately not. P4 is not bad, and Jinnah, Dan lock it out. Here is the strategy. I am going to be going for the alternative strategy. The thing with Portimao, which makes it quite a unique track in F1 24, is that the soft tyres are actually a usable tyre in the race. Most tracks, the soft tyres are only used at the very end of the race if there's a last minute safety car, but at this track they're actually a proper race tyre. So I'm on the mediums, as well as Rocket Lee. Dan, Jinnah and my teammate are on the softs, so I know that the two on the front row are going to get a great start, and my teammate is probably going to be quite a threat as well. So I know that I'm a little bit different. For the first time this season, I've really sort of put my foot out, and I've actually changed it up as we come up to the grid now. So I know this is going to be an interesting race. We don't know what's going to happen. There could be safety cars. We never know what's going to happen. I might completely botch this strategy. We'll have to wait and see. But for once, I am different from that of the cars around me. 0.2 away on my parking grid, which is really good for me. Obviously, I have had some issues this season, sometimes been a little bit too iffy on the parking meter. But that was a pretty good stop. We wait for the last of the cars to line up, which does take a surprisingly long time, given the fact that, well, we spread out a lot. So I'll take this time to ask you to please like and subscribe if you enjoy the video. We're not even halfway through the ALR season yet, so please make sure you like and subscribe and comment down below what you would like to see from me next. I've got some ideas for some more content coming. Speaking of coming, here come the 5 red lights, and we'll be underway shortly at Portimao. Now, as you can see here, the lights stay on for a little while, but we are underway. And immediately the top two obviously get their good start. My teammate is already alongside me. I'm alongside Rocket Lee. Dan's had a very poor second launch. I'm on the inside. Oh, Rocket Lee, we nearly make contact. I guess I think we kind of do. My teammate does get through on me. That is not a big surprise. He was on the soft tyres, and I said to my engineer before the race, if he gets past me, I'm not going to complain too much because he is on the soft tyres, and we have worked pretty well before, as we saw in Japan. But I've got Serious Mushroom behind me now in the first of the two Aston Martins. He's also on the soft tyres. Goes for a little bit of a dive bomb here. I give him plenty of room, but I get a great exit by taking that wide line, and I remain in P5. So we've lost a position. We're down one place from our starting position, but again, it is on to a soft runner, so it's not as if I've lost a position to a fellow medium runner. So in terms of the medium runners, I'm still a net P2. I'm the second of the medium runners. Rocket Lee, as you can see, is up ahead. Now, I really like Portimao. It's a fun track. I really kind of do miss it in real life. I know in real life, for me, the racing wasn't amazing, but just the feeling of driving this track is incredible. The undulation, it's like a roller coaster. It is simply incredible. Smithy's all over Rocket League. There's a big disparity here between the softs and the mediums at the race start. The softs are a lot quicker. I think the gap is about 6 to 7 tenths between the two compounds. Lead decides to save some EOS on exit, and my teammate round the outside is through up into P3. So at this point, we've had a pretty clean start. We haven't lost a front wing. We haven't spun, which, given the nature of turn one here, which is quite a medium high-speed corner, is a really big win. DRS is enabled. We'll use it for the first time this race, coming now down into the second DRS zone. Turn one is absolutely terrifying at Portimao. I'm sure that a lot of you, if you've driven this track, you know this corner is absolutely terrifying as we rear-end Rocket League. I was not expecting him to go that slowly in. He goes really slowly. I try and get the run on him, but I get a really poor run through, I believe it's turn 4. I've now got Serious Mushroom all over me. We all decide not to go a bit too crazy. I go a little bit deep into the corner, try and get a good exit. Rocket League is energy saving, but there's nothing I can do. But as I was saying, Portimao, it's a great track, really undulating, and there's a big difference between the softs and the mediums. It's a really weird track in the softs are a viable race tyre, as I've said. So you don't normally get this on the game. Normally the soft tyre, as I said, and I mean last minute safety cars. Like if you have about 3 or 4 laps from the end to be able to make soft tyres work in a race, but here they do run about 10 or 11 laps. So a strong-ish start from us. I'm all over the back of Rocket League. We are the lead 2 on the mediums, and as you can see, the soft runners are indeed bolting. They are making a run for it. Smithy, Jinnah, and Dan are all running away with it, which at this moment in time isn't a cause for concern. It's lap 2 of a 33-lap race. We've got plenty of time to go before the end of the race, and obviously I will be on the soft tyres in the second stint, so therefore I will get the benefit of those better tyres towards the end to try and catch back up. So it's not a massive worry right now. Lee's saving ERS, so I'm going to try and go up the inside. A bit of a late last-minute move. Again, turn 1, you kind of want the moves to be done earlier because otherwise you're really compromising turn 1. A little bit of contact there with Lee. Sort of turned in. I was already there, sort of turned in. No damage done to either of us. He stays behind me. Serious Mushroom is all over the back of him, though. And Mushroom will try and go for a move into the hairpin. He's on soft tyres. He really wants to get going very quickly, as Rocket League now is down, demoted to P6, which is a bit of a shame. I'd have loved Lee to stay behind me to be a rear gunner. He is fighting a bit with Mushroom, so we'll see what happens, but I do believe that Mushroom does eventually win out, but there Rocket League is actually still ahead, so I was wrong. I forgot what happened, but the gap is quite big. I do try and break DRS. Unfortunately, I'm unable to because I don't quite nail the last sector, but you can see the top 3, my teammate, they are gone, which again is not cause for concern at this moment. I was happy to set into this race. The main thing for me is to not get any time penalties. I did a practice race before this by myself against the AI, and I racked up a quite impressive 12 seconds worth of time penalties just from running wide at turn 1 and cutting a little bit a few corners. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, my priority is to play it safe at this point. I don't want to get warnings, I don't want to get time penalties, because I know others will, and that can be a useful tool at the end of the race if I don't have any time penalties. On to lap 4, we're going to speed up the footage a bit, because not really much is happening. Mushroom has got past Lee, and so has Winnie in the other Aston Martin, so the Aston Martins are 5th and 6th, so Lee is fallen back, and that yellow flag was unfortunately for Rocket Lee. Rocket Lee, who does have amazing pace, just not quite getting the luck to be able to keep it going. On to lap 5 now. Mushroom is all over my posterior. I let him go into turn 1. This is the type of overtake you want to do if you're swapping DRS at Portimao. You don't want to be going side by side into turn 1, because all that does is basically really affect you going through the corner, because you're compromising it. You're going a lot slower than you'd normally like to. As you can see there, Mushroom was saving a lot of ERS on the exit, which annoys me because I didn't feel the need to save ERS because I hadn't really been pushing. So I've slowed down a bit. And you can see the gap to the top 3 is nearly at 3 seconds. So the top 3 have bolted. They are being quite efficient at this point, using the DRS to put each other along. I'm now going to hopefully use Mushroom to do the same thing. You can see Winnie, Dynamo Dan as well. Dynamo Dan is fighting with one of the Williamses. But yep, up the inside, past Mushroom we go. Again, that is a perfect way to swap DRS on this track. You need to be well past them by turn 1 so that you can take turn 1 at proper racing speed. The gap has slightly narrowed to the top. The medium tyres are becoming slightly more better. Gap is 2 seconds, but of course I won't have DRS this lap, so it's going to extend. So it goes from 2 seconds. Here comes Mushroom up my inside. 2 seconds, it goes up to 2.5, and that is the power of DRS on this game. If you're not in a DRS train and the cars ahead are, then you can really lose out. Again, I'm being cucked a little bit here by Mushroom. He's using that ERS deployment, not so much on the exit of turn 1, where I'd like him to use it, where I'm not really saving there. He's saving down this straight too, but I'm too far back. This DRS straight isn't really that useful because it is quite short. You're not really going to get the overspeed on the car ahead to be thinking about a move. So lap 7 of 33. Again, I'm not worried about the top 3. I can catch them through the corners for the most part, although I'm stuck behind Mushroom this lap. So I'm not really worried about the top three. They're going to pit early. They're going to get a fantastically big undercut on me. So my race isn't really with them at the moment. I just need to hope that they don't pull enough of a gap after I pit that it becomes insurmountable to beat. I go past Mushroom, he lets me go, and I believe Winnie in the other Aston Martin follows me through. So I'm back in the lead of the DRS train, which means thankfully I'm not being held up by Mushroom's ERS saving through the next couple of corners, which is always a nice little blessing. I can see the top three ahead, Ginna and Smitty down to P2 and 3. Dan is leading the race for the Alpine team, so strong showing from Dan. You know, he's been very quick this season, just had some unlucky moments. Obviously in Australia, he was leading by a healthy margin to me in Rocket, when unfortunately he span out. So Dan does have the pace. That's what I love about ALR Bronze, and I'm going to keep saying it every week. We always have quite a few people fighting for the lead. It's never just a one-man show because we're all pretty equal here. I let Winnie go into turn one. Again, he's saving. All these drivers are saving through that part of the track, and because I'm not really using ERS to push at the moment, I'm keeping it in the high 90s. I'm not feeling the need to go into none. I'm carrying more speed, but there's nothing I can do about it. So Winnie and I, we got to work together here because we are the two guys on mediums. So if we want to put each other along, we're going to have to work together in a better manner, and we're doing that at the moment. We're working really strongly together. Winnie's letting me go before turn one. I'm letting Winnie go before turn one. As you can see, the gap here gets down to 1.7 seconds, which just goes to show you how much I'm gaining through sector 2 and 3. Winnie doesn't go for the move here, nor will he go for the move into the hairpin. So I'm closing slowly, and at this point, I'm getting a bit excited because I can see that I'm closing on Ginna and Smithy and the top three as a whole. I just can't quite break into the DRS quite yet, but that's not of a major worry. Winnie does try and go for it. He does go for it. I have to lift off a bit into turn one there, which isn't what ideal, but he does get through, and it's not a massive time loss. Or I say that, we're down a second on where we were the lap before, but I needed Rooney here. I need the DRS, otherwise I'm just going to get ditched by the top three. So as you may have seen, that their teammate comes into the pits. So Ginna and Smithy both are going for the undercut on Dan. I do close a bit on Dan through sector 2, sector 3, but he does have the measure of me, and obviously I won't catch him. He will pit at the end of this lap. He doesn't want the undercut from the other two to be quite so big. There goes Dan. So Winnie and I are now fighting for the effective race lead, again being cucked into turns 2 and 3, but that's just the way the cookie crumbles, I guess, in ALR Bronze. As we continue to move through the rest of the lap, I haven't picked up any warnings yet, so I'm very proud of myself for that. And as you can see, we are well clear. Mushroom is also pitted. He's got off his soft tyres, and we're well clear of the rest of the grid who are on mediums. So those guys won't be a factor. But you can see here, I'm starting to get a little bit stuck behind Winnie. I'm not quite, being able to get all my pace through. I feel like I'm being a little bit stuck behind him. And I still have several laps to go on this tyre before I can even think about making a pit stop. That is the thing with the soft tyres, obviously, as great as they are, they do have that limitation. You might have just seen it flash up there. Mushroom set the fastest lap of the race. So those fresh mediums for the soft runners are working perfectly. I'm just hoping at this point that they all get caught up behind each other in some traffic, behind, say, Styles, Corey, that may help me at least bridge the gap a little bit. You might be able to see on the mini map, you can see the three dots, you can see the three dots, but that is not including Dan. Dan in the Alpine has broken free, which I found out after the race is because Ginna and Smithy were fighting so hard that they lost DRS to Dan, and instead of working together to catch back up to Dan, they end up fighting so hard that they actually let Mushroom catch up. So you can see Dan in the blue Alpine. He's well clear of that gaggle of three cars, the bright green of my teammate, the orange of Ginna, and the dark green of Mushroom. So those guys have got well clear. They're fighting super hard, which is what I kind of needed them all to do. I needed Dan to be in that pack. I needed Dan to be fighting, but he's not. He's pulled away. He's clear. He's got clear air, and I am now stuck fighting with Winnie, who at this point is now not letting me go because we obviously had a pretty good agreement. We'd pretty much do a swap every lap. Winnie's now starting to fight me. He's starting to fight as if we were fighting for the lead of the race, and you can see Dan now in the top 5. He's 11 seconds back. So Dan has pulled an absolute blinder. Winnie pits. I decided to start an extra lap because I will have DRS, and I decide to use a bit more battery just to try and make sure that I don't get massively undercut by Winnie. But I will be pitting at, I believe, the end of this lap to go on to the soft tyres. Dan is now nearly within 10 seconds of me, so I have to pit because otherwise I'm just going to get undercut by Winnie. I'm going to be undercut by everyone. And as you can see in the top left, Ginna has a 10-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Smithy has a 3-second penalty for corner cutting or track extending, which I will spoil now. He does get removed after the race. So that 3 seconds for Smithy does not actually matter. Obviously, the thing with Bronze and ALR is that they will happily remove your penalties if it's a BS reason. We saw that with my China penalty. The thing is, you always have to fight. Like, even if you see someone with a 3 second penalty, you have to try and make sure you're ahead of them, because you never know the reason why they got that penalty. That could be because the game was being the game, and so you don't really want to lose out if you're just saying, "Oh, they got a 3 second penalty. I don't need to fight them." You always have to try and fight to the end in ALR Bronze. There is Winnie. He has undercut us. The gap about a second. He's getting about a second on me using those fresh soft tyres. That'll go up a bit, obviously, as my soft tyres start to warm up. They're pretty cold right now, so I'm not going to have the same level of grip as he has. But we are out. We've made our pit stop. We're down in P6. Mushroom 7 seconds up the road, and he's obviously in that gaggle of 3 cars with my teammate Jinnah and himself, all fighting for the podium. Dan has checked out at the moment. So I have 11 laps to try and at least gain onto the podium. And as you will see in that top left, you'll see that time start to tumble. Once my soft tyres sort of warm up, the time starts to tumble, and I'm catching these guys hand over fist. They have DRS, so they will have a lot of straight line speed. But the important thing is, of course, is that they're also going to have to be fighting each other. They're going to start holding each other up. If someone breaks slightly earlier, it's a concertina effect. So as you can see, I'm gaining about a second and a half. That is the power of these soft tires. They are absolutely incredible, and obviously they're fresher and they're a softer compound. So I'm gaining on these guys hand over fist. Winnie's also gaining on them. I'm not really getting that much on Winnie. The gap fluctuates about 1.5 to 1.6 seconds, but we're really pushing. And I know that obviously at this point, Winnie's probably going to get caught up inside the other guys. They're going to get all caught up in each other. Winnie's going to get stuck behind them, and it's going to pull them back towards me. So that is what I'm looking forward to. I'm not worried about Winnie being ahead, because he's going to get caught up in this battle, which he now does so, because he's now in DRS range and he's going to get caught up. The gap is 1.5 seconds at the start of the lap, and you will see now how much he's being held up by the guys on medium tyres. The gap was 1.5. By the end of the lap, I am in DRS range, so I gain half a second at least on these guys. And here we go. We're into the fight. We're now fighting stupidly hard. There is Mushroom. He's been overtaken by his teammate, and I now know that because I'm in a DRS train, I now have to be smart with my ERS. I have to work out where I'm going to have to make these moves. They have to be clean. They have to be smart. I can't risk damage at this point in the race. Damage now will drop me outside of the top 10, and whilst I'll still score points, it isn't what I want. So I've got a thing about it on here. Mushroom, I decide to go the long way round. Winnie gets caught on the back of Jinnah, so he loses traction on exit. I'm burning to pass him, and I get past both Aston Martins in one corner. And now behind Jinnah, who's saving ERS, so that I'm not going to get past here, because if I even think about making a move, he will just bump his ERS back up, and there won't be much point. But I'm now ahead of Winnie, which is critical, because he's the only other driver in this train on the soft tyres. You can see I went purple in sector 1. That's how much I was burning to try and get into the sort of the battle with these guys. I'm all over the back of Jinnah. There's no point making a move here. I do slightly run a bit deep. I sort of get a bit caught up behind Jinnah. I'm a little bit concerned when he's going to break. Winnie does have a look up my inside. Thankfully, nothing comes of it. That would have been really annoying if I'd lost my position to Winnie, having fought so hard to get it. My teammate has sort of checked out of this battle. He's about 8 tenths clear, so Jinnah will still have DRS. That's what's important. I'm in hot lap mode. I try and get up the inside. He's obviously burning, so I am going to sit in his slipstream. He starts flashing ERS, so he's at least a very low on ERS. He's not actually out of ERS. I got his inside. Unfortunately, we do make contact. I had plenty of room. Well, I say plenty of room. I didn't have enough room. I was well alongside. He doesn't report me after the race. It's just one of those things. I had room. He sort of turned in on me. That is what it is. And at this point, I'm up to third. Jinnah has room behind Winnie, and we can see Dan. Now, Dan is 9 seconds clear of us. He's 9 seconds clear of Smithy. He's 9.5 clear of me. There's 5 laps left, and even though I have a tyre advantage, I'm not getting close to him. So I realised at this point the battle is with Smitty, the battle is with everyone else. We've got retirement, he does pit and quit, so it's not going to be a late safety car, which I would have loved a late safety car, because at least then it would have closed us all up, and I probably would have pitted for a fresh set of softs. The only downside, of course, would be is that I'd be sat behind my teammate, would be double stack, and I would have been pushed towards the back of this group. But that is for another matter. There is no safety car because he has pit and quit, so I'm all over the back of Smitty. Now I can say Smitty here, I know he has that penalty. I don't know if it's going to be removed, so I'm thinking, okay, look, Dan's gone. I'm not going to close a 9 second gap in 5 laps. I wish I could, but that would require me to be nearly 2 seconds a lap quicker. At this point, I don't have the tyres for that. The tyres have done their job. They've got me onto the back of this train. I don't have the tyres to catch him. I will catch him a bit towards the end of the race, but not enough to really beat him. So what do? I'm like, okay, the one thing I can do is try and get Smithy ahead. I can get him keep him ahead of Mushroom, because Mushroom does not have any penalties to his name. Smitty, Winnie, and Jinna all do. So Mushroom is looking to benefit at the moment from the fact that everyone has all these penalties. So I'm sitting here thinking, okay, I will try and pull Smitty along. I am not at fuss. If I lose out to Winnie or to Jinna, I'm not losing out. I might do if they get their penalties removed, but at the end of the day, if we can get a double podium for the guys, that would be fantastic. And as I said, Smitty does get that 3-second penalty removed, so we are able to keep him ahead of Mushroom. So it will be a double podium potentially if we can keep this going. I'm not worried about Smitty. I mean, we're not in a party together. I do like to sit in a party with my teammates because then at least we can coordinate and we can work stuff out. But Smitty knows, he's smart enough. He's been around this game long enough to know the plan. He knows that overtaking me isn't going to benefit him, and it's certainly not going to benefit me. So I need to be able to try and help him pull ahead. As you can see, there is Mushroom, so we can see the gap to Mushroom. Jinna did pit to get rid of that 10-second penalty. He didn't actually have front wing damage from our crash. He also wanted to get rid of that 10-second penalty. But fun fact, he does pit to get rid of it, and then speeds into the pit lane to get rid of his penalty. So in fact, he doesn't actually help himself. He pits. He'll have a nice fresh set of tyres. He sets the fastest lap, but he doesn't actually get rid of his 10-second penalty. That doesn't really help anyone. There you can see Corey is fighting with serious Mushroom. So at this point, I'm really excited. I'm thinking we can do this. We can pull Smitty away. Now, you can see there, Smitty and I make contact going into turn 1, and Winnie starts fighting him really hard. Winnie's ahead, and Smitty starts fighting him. So these guys fall really far back. They fall back. Mushroom is able to keep ahead of Corey. I'm thinking, great. All of this hard work has been for nothing because my teammate's going to fall out of the podium positions. Coming into the final corner, as you can see, close the gap to Dan. It was about 9.5 seconds. It is about just under 8. He wins brilliantly. Really strong race from Dan. Well deserved. He deserved that win, obviously, after he faltered in Australia. I come home to finish in 2nd place. So really happy. Ultimate strategy probably didn't work out. If I wanted to win, I probably would have been smarter going into the softs, but that is the power of hindsight. Nothing I can do much about that. So there we go. I come home 2nd. Smitty will come home 3rd ahead of Mushroom. So all in all, a pretty decent day's work. I go from P4 all the way up to P2 on the alternate strategy. I was the lead driver on that alternate strategy to actually get into the podium. So really happy with this result. Not quite the win, but we will take what we can get. Moving on to the standings, as you can see here, on the left is the drivers, on the right is the constructors, leading the drivers by 20 points over Dan, who takes 2nd after his fantastic win, and we are still holding strong in the constructors, 51 points clear of a resurgent Aston Martin, so still leading both of the championships. My lead in the drivers come down a bit, but in the constructors, we stand strong, thanks to a very strong 2nd and 3rd. Now, we will move on to next week's track, which is Imola, the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix. We are in Imola for the next round. Love this track. Cannot wait to drive it. If you have enjoyed this video and made it this far, leave a like, subscribe, and I'll catch you all next time for Imola.